That was a little abrupt. Sorry about that. What's up, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of VCC Live. We have a little bit of technical difficulties, which is, not bad. We're 12 episodes in. We're veterans at this now, so we got it handled.
What a great picture of Jay. That's the best thing I've ever seen.
So, Jay,
I need to wait to see it. Hold on.
Jay is actually traveling, and as his punishment for not being able to join us on the video portion of it just by audio, I have decided to find the best picture of him I could find. This looks like a 1987 hairband picture.
Yeah, that was my driver's license picture. I think that was taken in like 1993.
That was your driver's license picture?
Yeah.
Wow, nice.
That's amazing. You look so dreamy. Like I want to hang out with you.
It looks like he's ready to go play a concert, man.
It does.
A little talk dirty to me. Anyway, so I'm going to click on the live link right now real quick so I can keep up with chat since Jay's not able to. It's really difficult to kind of do the button clicking and the checking. So maybe actually, Nick, if you have it pulled up live, you can mute it and see if you can keep an eye.
I got it muted right now.
Cool. All right, so today we are talking about, and there's no Matt, by the way, before anyone comments on it. Matt messaged me really early in the morning, like, 4 or 5 o'clock. I was asleep, but I got it when I woke up this morning, and he's ill, so he will not be joining us, but he says he definitely plans on being back next week. So,
awesome.
Check that next week when we get Matt back with us. Today we are talking about California, Prop 56, and I almost did it just then, said Prop 65, but Prop 56.
56.
So we're going to talk about that today. We're going to talk about Indiana. So Good Cat was able to get an injunction in Indiana. In Indiana. And the AVA fundraiser, that video that Rip Trippers did that he put out. We're going to talk about that, give some opinions, and some facts about where they're at right now with the total dollar amount that they've raised so far. And I think it's probably been a week or maybe less than a week. So, Jay, how are things?
Things are well. On the legislative front here in Massachusetts, things are still quiet. We were basically told that nothing is coming down the pipe for the rest of this year. So, good job from the MASPA folks keeping all the evil legislation at bay. So we get to take a little bit of a respite, at least at the state level.
Cool. Nick, you're out in California, obviously, so this Prop 56 is something you're probably pretty familiar with. Anything else going on in CA? I know you just got back from Vape Showcase in Dallas.
I just got back from Vape Showcase in Dallas, which was a really fun event. In California, hi, welcome to not being able to talk today for some reason.
I'll be your co-host.
I know Not Blowing Smoke is doing that tour for Prop 56 awareness. I'm going to try to go to a couple of the dates. There's one up at the Vape Capital Studios that I'm going to go to, and then I'm going to try to go to the Sacramento one as well. Just really, obviously to support Not Blowing Smoke, to support awareness for Prop 56. I also want to meet Jennifer Berger Coleman because she's in Sacramento and she's my advocacy hero, and I want to drive up there to meet her. So this is a perfect time to do that. So that's, I've been trying to plan that out as well. But yeah, good times in California. I always say California is an amazing state run by idiots.
Yeah. That's. I know that there are a lot of companies already, not maybe I don't know about a lot, but I've heard about several companies that have left California over the past 6 months, going to surrounding states that are a little bit more friendly towards the vaping industry. So, well done, California.
Yeah,
way to increase your sales tax revenue and your employment. Good job, dumbasses.
Yeah.
Anyway, so tell us about what do you know about Prop 56? We have a couple of articles that I'm going to screen share in just a minute, but if you can kind of give us a general fill on them. From what I understand, well, no, I said you tell us, so you tell us.
Yeah, okay. You can tell us. Prop 56 is basically just a tobacco tax hike. They're going to raise
We're getting some feedback there from you, Jay. If you could maybe mute it while you're not talking.
Oh, sure.
Sorry about that, Nick.
It's just a tobacco tax hike. They're looking to raise the price on a pack of cigarettes $2 for taxes. They say it's a tobacco tax hike. Obviously, that includes vape gear as well, because according to California
and federal law
now, vape liquids are tobacco, so taxes will be going up on that as well. The bummer, this is going to be a struggle for a lot of people because California, I just see the California mentality of, oh, it's just a tobacco tax hike? Sure, like no problem. But I don't think anybody in California really understands what's going on. There's a great website set up that you linked to in the show notes that's on proposition56.com. It kind of talks about what California is planning with this, what they're saying the money is going to go towards, and then what that money is actually going to be funding. And it's kind of shocking, honestly. And it feels a little tinfoil hat like conspiracy theory to say that, but California is definitely saying one thing and doing another. And I know that you linked to some other articles as well, if you wanted to go over those.
Yeah, so I think what people probably don't understand yet is it's not just going to be like some small tax, like a few cents a milliliter. They're trying to make it equivalent to the tobacco, like the actual combustible tobacco product tax. So
right.
E-liquid prices in California are about to skyrocket for the consumer, for the vapor, for the smoker who wants to try vaping. So I think, it looks to me like they're doing everything in their power to dissuade smokers from going to vaping.
Yeah.
Which it's just asinine, man. I can't even believe it. Yeah, let's go over here. I have this on proposition. Okay, so I'll put these links in the, once YouTube renders it and we share it, I'll have the links in the description. This is on proposition56.com. So let me go to the right monitor here. If I can figure out what I did with that button. There we go. So you can see here, on 56, and it is really, really long. There's no way we're going to be able to read or cover all of this on the show. But if you go to the website and take your time to go through it, you can certainly read through it, and it gives you a very good breakdown of what's happening. So I think that these little outcrops here kind of give you some quick information. So maybe we can read those because it's not as long. It says $1.4 billion tax hike grab. Prop 56 is a $1.4 billion tax hike grab by insurance companies and other wealthy special interests to dramatically increase their profits by shortchanging schools and ignoring other pressing problems. See highlights and notes for exactly how they do this. Wealthy special interests shouldn't get away with trying to mislead voters by using Prop 56 to enrich themselves at the expense of providing additional funding for schools, fixing roads, and fighting violent crime. So I'm assuming that's the excuses they're using for why they're doing this.
Right.
But it's
they're
not actually.
They're saying that, schools are going to get this much percentage of this new tax, when in reality it's this much percentage of this actual tax. I don't know if any of the viewers here are in California, but if you've ever driven up like Interstate 5, it's in horrible shape. It's in horrible condition. Horrible, just horrible. And that, again, is going to get this much of this tax money.
Right. And then if you go down a little bit further, it says funding formula favors insurance companies. Section 30130.55A establishes the Prop 56 spending formula that gives insurance companies and other healthcare providers 82% of this new tax. So I guess what's left is what they're going to put over towards schools, roads, and fighting violent crime.
82%?
82%.
Do we know anything about the tax structure as it pertains to vaping products?
Again, this is a really long document. I'm not going to sit here and lie to you and say that I read every bit of this because it's extremely long. But the only thing that I did read was that it was going to be equivalent to cigarette tax. So I don't know how.
That's the problem. There's no such thing. So,
right.
Yeah, there's no such thing, but they're going to, I'm sure, come up with some equation to, I don't know how much it will increase the actual, I mean, if anyone does know, obviously flip in the comments if you can find a link to where that is. And then it says bigger payments to insurance companies. This is where the insurance companies and special interest behind Prop 56 grab as much as $1 billion more for treating the very same Medi-Cal patients they already treat today.
Yeah.
Just 13% goes to treat smokers. Section 30130.55B is where Prop 56 by formula allocates just 13% of new tobacco tax money to treat smokers or stop kids from starting. So basically what that says to me is they don't give a fuck about smokers. They're using this as a ruse to get money to do other special pet projects for insurance companies and other people who have a lot of money to influence California politicians, apparently.
And it shouldn't be entirely shocking. I mean, we know
I know how California, yeah.
I mean, we know how they spent, what, $40 million on the Still Blowing Smoke campaign?
Yeah.
I mean, we know how they spend their tax dollars.
I thought it was more than that. I thought it was like 75 million, no?
Yeah, it could be 75 million.
That's ridiculous.
I was trying to lowball it to make it seem more reasonable, but still, I mean, even if it is 40 billion or 40 million, that's still ridiculous.
Mm-hmm.
Ridiculous.
Well, let's see what else they have here. Well, this is pretty interesting. Section 30130.57A and F is where Prop 56 specifically allows over $147 million to be spent on overhead and administration. So what that means is they're going to be paying for public servants' jobs to be able to enforce this, I guess, for the overhead and administration part of it.
Well, I think ultimately their goal is that the entire state is simply, a bunch of employees of the California government.
Right, and that's where they're getting part of the money, $137 million apparently. Mm-hmm. $147 million.
Wow.
Here's where, and so this one says cheat schools. Here's where Prop 56 adds SEC.23 to the state constitution to cheat California schools out of at least $600 million every year. California's constitution, through Proposition 98, requires that schools get at least 40% of any new tax increase, but Prop 56 circumvents that school funding requirement. Not one penny of this measure will go to improve our kids' classrooms. Because of this language in Section 23, or SEC.23, not one penny of the new tax money will go to improve our kids' schools. So let's go back to us for just a second, because I want to say this where people can see it. When they tell you they care about the kids and it's all about the kids and helping the kids, they're full of shit.
Mm-hmm. Well,
it's about their bottom line. That's what it's about.
Yeah. The funny thing with Prop 56 is I've only seen negative posts, negative articles, negative everything. I haven't seen any positive, propaganda from California saying this is going to, increase money to our schools. Vote yes on Prop 56. I haven't seen anything positive for it. I've only seen negative propaganda for it.
Yeah. Well, hopefully we put it on our screen today. So the more you, by the way, if you're watching this live and you haven't shared it yet, please do so, because some other people might be available to join live. So please do that. But everyone that sees the replay of this, or even sees the screenshot of this, I might actually leave it as this week instead of changing it to our normal splash screen on YouTube, because anyone that comes across it will see the California vote no on Prop 56. So we're going to leave that up there, obviously. So I'm going to go back to the right monitor here, and this is an article. And again, I'll post a link to it, rstreet.org. It's an article that they wrote here, and I'm just going to read some of it. As the United States' failed experiment with prohibition was drawing to a close, two major groups fought until the bitter end to maintain it: those morally opposed to alcohol consumption and those who made money peddling illegal drinks. The economist Bruce Yandel coined the phrase Baptist and bootleggers to describe this sort of strange bedfellows alignment in which both of those who favor a given regulation and those who profit from undermining that regulation often find common cause. That's a crucial concept to grasp as California expands its efforts to further tax and regulate not only already highly taxed and regulated tobacco products, but newer and by all accounts vastly safer nicotine vapor products. California voters this year will be asked on the November 8th ballot to weigh Proposition 56, which would increase the state's cigarette tax by $2 a pack and apply comparable levels of taxation both to other tobacco products, such as cigars and chewing tobacco, and to e-cigarettes and e-liquids that contain nicotine. Evidence surveyed by Public Health England suggests that e-cigarettes are 95% safer than traditional combustible cigarettes, which is why the UK government now recommends promoting their use to improve public health. With many cigarette smokers having switched to vaping to cut down or quit smoking, the expansion of tobacco restrictions and tax rates to vaping raises many eyebrows, even from some physicians and health advocates. But Proposition 56 isn't about the pragmatic goal of a healthier California. Instead, ideological zealots opposed to any nicotine-related products have entered an unholy alliance with government profiteers to undermine the cost incentive for smokers to switch from traditional tobacco cigarettes to far less harmful vapor alternatives. So,
sums it up pretty well.
That summed it up pretty well,
Yeah.
actually, yeah. So, again, we'll have the links to this, so you guys can share these around. Go ahead, Jay.
I just said it's the same old story. I mean, we dealt with this with prohibition. We've been dealing with this with the war on drugs, and now we're seeing a microcosm of the entire thing with vaping.
Right, and in one of the, I think California had already classified e-cigarettes and e-liquids as tobacco products just before the deeming rule came out and was effective. But we're going to see, I think, a ripple effect from the FDA deeming regulations and what that's going to, every state. And again, this is why, and I want to talk just for a second too at some point. We'll probably wrap up this, and I forgot to put this in the show notes, but I did want to talk about Vista and Vista wrapping up really quickly. But the states are going to grasp onto this fact that the FDA has now classified e-cigarettes and e-liquids and their components and parts and stuff as tobacco products. And if you think it's been bad over the last couple of years, not just in California, Indiana, Kentucky, West Virginia, Minnesota, all the states that have passed negative vaping legislation or taxation initiatives, it's going to be insane the next couple of years.
Oh, yeah.
So if you are in a state that has a state association that's funding a lobbyist and you are a business, please join them. They're going to need all the help they can get. And if you're in a state that doesn't have a state organization or a lobbyist yet, you need to be doing that now. It's something that you have to have when you're fighting regulations. You have to have a lobbyist, and
yeah. And unfortunately, a lobbyist is going to be your biggest expense as an association. Period.
Right. But do you spend 10 cents to keep making your dollar? Of course you do.
Sure.
So it just makes sense. So anyway, that kind of wraps up the talk we're going to have on Prop 56. Vote no on it if you're in California. Contact your legislators and let them know that you absolutely oppose it. You will not be voting for it. You'll be working and lobbying against it from the consumer perspective. Check out CASA.org. They have some information on their website. If you're a consumer and you haven't joined CASA, do that today. Follow the calls to action. So anything you want to wrap up on that, Jay or Nick, on Prop 56?
I live on the other coast.
Yeah. No, I mean, learn about it, read about it, tell people about it. This isn't something that is just affects vapors. I mean, this is something that affects people in California. People, I mean, if you're paying your taxes shouldn't be going to special interest groups or insurance companies so that they can pad their bottom line. That is ridiculous. And so this is something that affects Californians rather than just vapors or smokers in California. So, Yeah,
but and again, there's a trickle effect and a ripple effect also from, if this does pass in California, other states are going to say, this is easy money, dude. We need to have this in our state.
Yeah,
So-
that's the thing, and I would think that at some point Californians in general have to get sick of all this taxation. I mean, it's just constant there. They're constantly increasing taxation. At some point, they have to get sick of it.
Yeah, you would think so.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so just real quickly before we move on to Indiana, Vista Truth, the board of directors voted to dissolve Vista Truth. Basically, when we started Vista in 2014, it was myself, Dimitri Agrafiotis, and TD Bowen. And I had the idea and approached these guys with it, and they were on board. And it was the same time that Dimitri was starting the TSFA, the Tennessee Smoke-Free Association in Tennessee. And my idea was, everyone's got their eye on the ball over here, which is the FDA and the deeming regulations, but the states move quickly and they're going to screw us much faster than the FDA is, which we did see in some cases over the last couple of years. So my thought was we need to have a lobbyist in every state capital. There were only a couple at the time that had lobbyists. I think Utah was one. Aaron Fraser with the Utah Smoke-Free Association. I don't know of any others, but there may have been a couple more. But there wasn't a lot of lobbyist activity at the state level. So I thought, what a good thing we could do if we can unify the industry and have one in each state. And then we had Capital Access, who is the lobbyist for the state of Florida. They were acting as the lobbyist vetter, I guess you could call it. So they were going through their chain and their network and finding lobbyists in other states that were highly recommended by other lobbyists, so people knew that they were effective and did good jobs and stuff like that. We were able to get Florida, Georgia, Tennessee, and Massachusetts on board under the Vista umbrella, and Capital Access was managing the lobbyists in those states, and we did a great job over the last couple of years. Had, I don't think any initiatives passed in those 4 states, mainly because we had lobbyists. And was funding tough in some cases, and sometimes, yeah, of course it was, but we always managed to, keep the lobbyist on board and protect the vaping industry in those states. Mm-hmm. What I didn't expect was such complacency by people to join an advocacy organization and protect their industry rights in every state. So we never made it past 4 states, and it didn't look like at this point we were going to be able to. So the states where we had lobbyist representation, they have been working with each other for a long time. They know each other. So it was kind of an easy transition to say, you know what, why don't you guys just deal directly with the lobbyist in that state? Right. One of the reasons why Vista was kind of the conduit for, or the central organization, is it's much easier for, if you have a national organization like Vista who has a bunch of lobbyists under the auspices of Vista, to kind of control what they're doing. And if they're not doing a good job, it's easier for Vista to say, hey, we're going to, opt out of our contract and go find another lobbyist who's being effective. Fortunately for us, we never had to do that because the lobbyists that were vetted turned out to all be great. But my idea at the time when we started it was we're going to have 50 states with 50 lobbyists, and it's going to be difficult to control if they're all individually being paid by just the state organizations. But with 4, it's much more manageable to just transition that back over to the state associations and have them work directly. Especially after the FDA deeming regulations came out, everyone's focusing on the federal. And like I just said a few minutes ago, you can't do that because we're going to end up getting screwed at the state level. But just to give kind of everyone an idea of what Vista was, what it was about, how it ran, why we did what we did, there you go. Pretty quick and simple. If anyone has any questions, I'm always available to talk to. So shoot me an email, admin@vapingcc.com. Be happy to answer them for you. PM me on Facebook, whatever. So that's Vista in a nutshell. Yeah. And one of the states that I think at the time when all this stuff was going on a few years ago was Indiana. And I'm pretty sure they didn't have a lobbyist before this bill that came. They might have gotten one after the fact, but they didn't have one before it came up. And we all saw what happened in Indiana with the draconian measures to regulate e-liquid manufacturing and stuff. And it was an obvious attempt by a group. I think it was Casino. They own casinos and alcohol or something like that, alcohol distribution. Right. And they wanted to monopolize e-liquid manufacturing and vaping in the state of Indiana. So I think it was a Florida company called Good Cat that actually sued. And I'm going to switch over to the right screen real quick here. This is an article by Indiana Business Journal. And again, I'll post a link, but you can see it there, but I'll post it in the description to this article. It says, judge rules in favor of scorned e-liquid manufacturer and vaping cause. Opponents of Indiana's controversial vaping law scored a victory Friday when a federal judge ruled in favor of a Florida e-liquid manufacturer that argued the law was unconstitutional. Richard Young, Chief Judge for the Southern District of Indiana, granted a preliminary injunction that applies only to the one company, Good Cat LLC, after finding that it had a reasonable likelihood of success in overturning at least part of the law. Young ordered the Indiana Alcohol and Tobacco Commission to issue the company a manufacturing permit for e-liquids until its lawsuit against the state can be fully heard. The U.S. Constitution's Commerce Clause implicitly prohibits, this is quote unquote, implicitly prohibits state and local governments, even in the absence of federal legislation, from enacting laws that discriminate against or excessively burden interstate commerce, Young wrote in his ruling. I'm not going to read the whole thing, so if you want to check out that article, you certainly can, but that's a good thing. That's a great win for the vaping industry.
That's a
You
great.
really-
That's
You really
Go ahead,
don't
Jay.
hear much about the interstate commerce law or the interstate commerce clause in the Constitution anymore because it's been more or less nullified by multiple Supreme Court decisions over the years. So it's great to hear it being brought up again. I'm not so sure it really applies because it's just as equally awful for in-state manufacturers as it is for out-of-state manufacturers. But nonetheless, I am very happy to hear about this injunction, and hopefully, it sets the pathway to an ultimate ruling in our favor as vapers.
In-state manufacturers wouldn't be able to use it because they're not crossing state lines when they're selling to Indiana shops. So that's, I think, why the Florida company or any company outside of the state of Indiana really could have relied upon that for a legal argument in their suit. And good for them.
In the suit is absolutely, but it's just as burdensome for an in-state e-liquid manufacturer to abide by these rules as it is for an out-of-state manufacturer. Is my point.
Right, but an out-of-state manufacturer can use these grounds to sue them, and an in-state couldn't because there's no interstate commerce happening within the bounds. So anyway,
At the federal level,
the federal level, right? So Nick, you were going to say something at the beginning there.
Oh, no, I was saying, it's a really great step in the right direction. We have to remember that this only applies to Good Cat and not any other liquid companies. There is one interesting thing in this article where it says Good Cat argued that in its suit that the law negatively impacted interstate commerce because 90% of the revenue from branded e-liquids came from e-liquids manufactured outside of Indiana. The e-liquid brands sold in Indiana were associated with 177 businesses, only 13 of which were located in Indiana. So they're making the argument that it's ruining the Indiana vaping business, but only 13 of these companies are located. Are there 13 liquid manufacturers in Indiana? I mean, is that
There were.
okay? Well, there were only 13. So I just thought that was really interesting.
Yeah, I guess that kind of makes sense.
I'm trying to see what I was actually reading that paragraph to myself again. So that's,
I know of at least one manufacturer that closed shop soon after the bill actually passed, and I'm sure there were probably more.
Yeah.
So we have another. I'm just going to switch back over here. This is an article on Forbes. It says "Goodbye Illegal Indiana Vaping Law." Well, I don't know if that's kind of misleading so far, but maybe it'll get there. Some much-needed sanity was just injected into the debate over Indiana's nonsensical anti-competitive vaping law. This is a major win for vapers everywhere and a blow to state-enforced monopolies. And then it goes on to tell, it says, in a preliminary injunction ruling issued on August 19th by U.S. District Court for the Southern District of Indiana, Judge Richard Young decided that Indiana must allow the sale of e-liquid that is not approved by the state's Alcohol Tobacco Commission. This is the latest major development in a long line of changes that have brought turmoil to Indiana's e-liquid market. And then it talks about Governor Mike Pence and his signed House Bill 1432 and
the security company requirements.
Company. Yeah, the only security company that met all the law's requirement was Malhopatz. I don't know how to say that. Based, unsurprisingly, in Lafayette, Indiana. As an investigation by the Indiana Business Journal revealed, there is reason to believe that the law was specifically written so that only one Indiana-based firm could comply.
Shocking.
Yeah. And we've seen attempts by other states to implement similar types of legislation. Georgia had one last year. And, again, this just goes to the point that other states might not understand exactly what was happening in another state when something was passed, but they certainly will try to copy it if they think they can pass it in their state, even without full knowledge of what they're doing. So it's why it's very important for us to educate our elected officials before they get the idea that this might be something good for their state. And now we have ammunition to say, if anyone does bring this up in the future, in a different state, if a legislator brings up at the state level, we can say, careful, look at this ruling by a U.S. district judge, and this is what's going to happen to you in the state if you pursue this course of action with Indiana-type legislation. So that is a great thing for vapors everywhere. If we do see anything like that come up again, now we at least have something to use as ammunition against it and hopefully scare, or at least make them think, the legislators in different states. So, Jay, Nick, thoughts?
Yeah,
I mean, that pretty much sums it up, but
yeah, it sums it up. Down at the end of this article, there's a great section that after they list the requirements, it says if you're asking yourself why any of these requirements have to do with properly inspecting and securing e-liquid, you're not alone. Like,
right.
Yeah, they say Indiana has no position on how a rolling steel fire door protects against tampering of e-liquid during the manufacturing process.
Yeah, it was ridiculous from day one.
That's that's like yeah. I'm just glad that other people are catching on to it as well, because as when you read through these requirements from the security company and how to manufacture e-liquid, it makes zero sense. And I'm glad that other people.
It has nothing to do with the actual manufacture of the e-liquid. It has everything to do with security precautions. Gee, I wonder who wrote this bill. Well, could it have been a security firm?
Yeah,
who happens to have interest in a particular e-liquid manufacturer in that state? Gee.
Yeah.
Yeah, again, this is the importance of getting in on the front end of legislation before it happens, because while you may have some success in the courts after the fact, what has it done to the industry already in Indiana?
Oh, it's decimated.
Decimated.
Yeah.
And many of these people who have gone out of business or are no longer able to maintain the standard that they once did, I think it's highly improbable that they're going to be able to come back from this, even with more favorable court decisions. That's why I always say it's much easier to prevent a law from becoming a law than it is to either retract a law once it's become a law or sue in court to get. I mean, yeah, you might win. This is what I always say too. You might win, but to what end? What's going to be left? What's going to be your victory? 100 closed down vape shops? You have to be proactive, people. You have to get on this on the front end, get ahead of the 8 ball, have industry organizations in your states, and make sure this shit never gets to this point.
Because
once you get to this point,
relationships with your politicians.
Absolutely.
Period.
You absolutely have to educate them. And it has to be before stuff like this happens, because overturning it or, court cases, they become expensive. They take a lot of time. And again, what's going to be left? It's going to be a hollow victory if you do win. So hopefully too much time hasn't passed in Indiana. I mean, this was from an outside vendor from Florida, and I'm sure they had other accounts elsewhere to keep them going. Mm-hmm. But for the Indiana industry, the people who are actually located there, I mean, it just sucks for them.
Yeah.
So
well, and then there's the whole FBI investigating, the Indiana vaping laws for possible corruption as well. Although nobody will say, the representatives and senators who voted for it, they are saying, oh, well, I'd rather not say if the FBI has talked to me or approached me. I'd rather not say.
Yeah, well, I hope they, and I don't know, I hope they get every, that was going to be a little bit too blunt. I hope they get every person. I just barely caught myself before that. I hope they get every person who was involved in this attempt to monopolize and obviously grab, because I'm positive there's some criminal activity the FBI will find. I'm positive they will. And I hope they prosecute those fuckers. Anyway, Tracy in chat has a really good point. She says, the scary thing about this is I don't think it would have gotten as much attention if it was just about vaping. The obvious corruption is what drew the media attention. That's absolutely true, Tracy.
Yep.
Yeah.
If it was just about vaping, there might have been a couple of articles written by people that no one reads, and that's it. It's the corruption angle that's what's going to get the necessary media attention to hopefully overturn the law in general, not just for outside of Indiana e-liquid manufacturers, but the whole thing needs to be repealed, in my opinion.
And don't think that judges don't look at public opinion. Don't think for a second.
Right. This is again why we need to be focusing on positive media as well and getting people involved. So thank you, Tracy, for that comment. That's absolutely true.
Yeah,
I'm trying to
it's
check and see
absolutely
real
true.
quick if there's anything else that anyone said that we would read.
Yeah, I was looking.
Mowgli vapes. They threw shit against the wall to see if it would stick. It didn't.
Yep.
Yeah.
A little more al dente next time.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, and the corruption angle, is something that will get FDA attention as well. I mean, there's the whole RICO lawsuit with the whatever head of the FDA, and how Mr. Current head of the FDA was a executive at Pfizer. I mean, there's so much shady stuff that still needs to be uncovered, and hopefully that gets media attention as well.
Yeah. Yeah. For some reason, the public loves a good corruption story.
Yeah, good.
So to hell with hundreds of thousands of people dying every year from combustible tobacco.
Right.
We're good for some corruption, Anyway, whatever gets our cause brought into the light, I guess we'll take it.
Yeah.
So keep being corrupt. Stay corrupt, politicians. We'll find you. We'll exploit it.
Yeah, I think if there's one thing we can rely on, it is corrupt politicians.
Right, and Shannon just brings up another point too. Look at PA now. We have to fight harder to change the 40% wholesale tax. I have to say, though, that Chris Hughes and a lot of people in Pennsylvania actually did a lot of work to prevent this tax from passing. And this wasn't from a lack of effort on the part of Pennsylvanians. It was just they flat out got screwed and lied to by politicians.
It was railroaded through. I mean, it was extremely short term. It wasn't like they had to deal with an entire legislative session here. It was
Right.
like they had weeks to deal with this.
Well, and Chris told us point blank when he was on our show like a month ago or whatever, personal friends of people who he considered personal friends of his who were elected representatives changed their position at the last minute, and essentially what they did was lie to him. They told him, "Oh yeah, we're voting against it. It's not going to happen. We're not going to let this pass." And then they're the same asses that voted for it.
Right.
So, I mean, I think Pennsylvania. I mean, that just goes to show you, though, no matter how well prepared you think you are, and even if you do all your best efforts, you still don't have 100% slam dunk. Still, even if you do everything that you should be doing. So,
And
yeah.
even if they tell you,
Even if they tell you,
we're going to
right.
vote against this.
Absolutely.
Nope. Sorry. Unbelievable.
Yeah, I had a point, and I forgot it. Oh, yeah, Chris Hughes. Speaking of Chris Hughes, so what Chris Hughes did is he's decided he's going to. It was too late to file to run for against his House representative in the state of Pennsylvania, so he's running.
no.
He's running as a write-in candidate. So yeah, let me see if I can find that. I'll put the link in the description to this. Chris Hughes for PA rep. Let me see if I can find it on Google. Anyway, I'll find it and I'll put it in there. Chris is running as a write-in candidate. I think it's fantastic if you have the inclination or a few dollars to send to his campaign to help him with his write-in candidacy in Pennsylvania. Check out the link down there. Once it's on the replay, we'll have it in. Chris is a great dude, longtime advocate, very passionate about vaping products and getting people off of combustible tobacco. I think his voice and the voice of more competent vapors across the country is what's going to take to be elected into office. I've said this many times before, but that's what's going to swing in our favor. So we definitely need to support Chris and his effort as running as a write-in candidate for PA.
And he's been on the show, so that's reason enough.
Absolutely.
Vote for Chris.
Yeah.
He's a VCC
definitely.
Live veteran. So if you're in Chris's district and you're watching this, on the write-in ballot, Chris Hughes, ChrisHughes. There you go. So the last topic we had scheduled for today was the AVA fundraiser. So this has caused a lot of commentary and stuff over the past week. Rip Trippers is a YouTube reviewer. If you don't know who he is, yeah, you crawl out from under a rock or a mushroom.
Seriously, how do you not know?
He definitely has 700,000, I think, plus followers on subscribers on YouTube. He does review videos. He's been doing it for a long time. Had some controversial shit in the past, for sure. Stuff that I certainly didn't agree with his stance on. But you know, he decided to do something to use his notoriety with his subscribers to benefit Greg Conley and the American Vaping Association, who, if you don't know who Greg is, again, you need to check it out, because he has been tirelessly advocating for vapor products for the past several years, traveling from state to state, you know, city to city, counties, anything that he can go to and speak on and oppose anti-vaping legislation or tax bills or anything like that. He's there. Sometimes I'm astonished at how much he travels and his dedication to the vapor industry. But anyway, so Rip decided he was going to use his notoriety to help out the AVA and get some funding. I think it was just over a week ago, or around a week ago, that the video went live and started getting some shares and stuff, and people on Rip's channel. But this is what they were up to as of 8 hours ago. Almost $107,000.
Amazing.
Yeah, I mean, if I'm looking at it right now, it's 108,223.
That's crazy, man. So Greg's post from 8 hours ago said, "Up at 4 a.m. writing a press release." Again, who else is up at 4 a.m. writing a press release for the vaping industry? I got distracted for a moment and decided to reload the campaign, which sat at 82,000 earlier tonight, with a big thanks to Vista Vapors for their $11,000 donation, and Flawless Vape Wholesale and Distribution, and Rip Trippers for their $5K donation, $5,000.
Yeah.
A $25,000 donation, hopefully authentic, just came in. Edit found out the source. Thanks, Rob from One Hit Wonder E-Liquid. That is awesome, guys.
Yeah.
So again, just to reiterate here, whether or not you agree, disagree, like, hate, loathe, want to smack, whatever, Rip Trippers.
Yeah.
This is fantastic. I wish he would have done it a couple of years ago and gotten more information out. I think he has had some other videos, but for some reason, this one specifically caught the interest of the vaping community and his subscribers, and some shops out there. Obviously, $25,000 donation from Rob, One Hit Wonder E-Liquid. You know, all the other people that I just mentioned with their recent donations getting up, as Nick said, now he refreshed it, it's at 108K. That's crazy. Their goal is 250,000. So they're not quite halfway there.
Yeah, but I mean, $108,000 in 9 days.
That's crazy, man.
That's
That is
insane.
huge.
Of course, we're going to hit this goal. I have no doubt that we're going to hit this goal.
Even if you don't, it's a huge success. I mean, this is something that we're going to be able to point to for a long time and say, look, it can be done.
Right.
Yeah.
And the thing is, we can't go back and change the past, and we can't change, you know, some of Rip's videos and some of his statements and his position in the past. I've never met Rip Trippers. I wouldn't mind having to sit down and talk with him. I mean, I had a conversation. We were going back and forth on a post with Andrew Osborne out of New York. He had a post kind of negative towards Rip, but I understand his frustration. But I told him if we can get in touch with Rip, and maybe Andrew and I or some other advocates can sit down and just bounce some ideas off of them, I think it would be good for everything. I'm not the type of person who's going to say this person may have done something in the past that I don't agree with. Fuck them, I'm writing them off. And especially with someone like Rip Trippers, you can't do that. He has the largest audience of anyone in the vaping community. So I think what you do is you try to educate them and help them to come to a better understanding of what it is they should be doing with their notoriety. So, whether or not you agree, disagree, whatever, good job, Rip, and congrats to Greg. It's
and
awesome.
every little bit helps. I mean, you can donate $5. What's $5?
Well, like he said, if
Happy Meal?
he said in his video, because I watched it and I shared it, if everyone that subscribed to him on YouTube donated $1, that's $700,000, dude. That's crazy.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, $1. That would be ridiculous.
So, what are you guys' thoughts? What have you been seeing on social media or anything about this video and any backlash from it or anything like that?
Oh, people always find a reason to be against something or think there's some sort of conspiracy going on, and people were talking about how, oh, well, One Hit Wonder donated all this money, but yet they still have really horrible branding and packaging.
Right.
I mean, their new juice line looks like a juice box from when you were in elementary school. Like,
Well, I would just say that they do owe us.
yeah, that's true. That's true.
And I would just leave it at that.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm just reading some of the
absolutely.
comments, and I see Charles Height says 250K won't go very far. We've got a long road ahead, so let's not set the bar so low. I agree. We need a lot more than 250 grand, but I think
But
Greg.
this is one fundraiser.
Yeah, this is one.
Fund.
I think Greg is going to be, to keep, and I don't mean to sound negative towards Greg, but to keep a tool or something, a weapon in your arsenal like Greg funded, so that he can continue to do what he does to advance the cause of vapors' rights. I think he'd rather have that 100,000 or 250,000 or whatever he can get to help make sure that he can travel and live and
Yeah.
afford to pay himself something, because he shouldn't be doing this for free. The man
Yeah.
works harder than anyone. One of the most hardest working advocates in the vaping industry. So I think he'll take it. I agree that we need to have much loftier goals. But as I've learned personally through Vista and through other advocacy efforts over the last couple of years, getting money from the vaping industry, I would say it's like pulling teeth, but it's even harder than that. I don't even know what's harder than that. What's harder than pulling teeth?
Pulling fingernails?
Pulling fingernails? I don't know. It's pretty fucking difficult, dude. So the fact that they were able to get over 100 grand in 9 days is astonishing. I'm sure Greg is elated and a little bit of a weight off his chest, because when you're trying to run an organization and do all this stuff on a shoestring budget, it's nerve wracking, man.
Yeah.
So this gives him a little bit of breathing room. And yes, I agree with you, Charles. We do need loftier goals and we do need more money, but it's a good start.
Yeah. We always need more money.
We need to start somewhere, and this was a hell of a good start. It sets a really good precedent. And I don't think Rip could have picked a better recipient in Greg Connolly and Right to Be Smoke Free. I mean, these are organizations that are very well vetted, and Greg particularly has been around from the beginning. So there are very few in the community that have a bad thing to say about Greg, by and large. So I just think it sets a really good precedent, and if we can keep the ball rolling, either with other reviewers or with other fundraising activities, and just focus our resources where we feel, generally as a community, where they're most needed, and where they'll give us the most bang for the buck.
Yeah, and I did forget to mention that a portion of the funds raised through this campaign are going to the Right to Be Smoke Free Coalition industry lawsuit. Not all of it is going to Greg, so thank you for bringing that up, Jay, because I forgot that it's not 100%, but it's mostly going to the AVA, with a portion of it going to the lawsuit as well. Charles responds, he says, Kevin, I agree 100%. I just hope people don't see the amount coming in so fast and say, oh, I don't need to help. Look how much money they have already. That's absolutely true.
Point.
It's a good point.
Great point. Great point.
Yeah. So absolutely, if you see that they've raised a lot of money and you haven't contributed yet, think of how much more they would have to work with and go towards the war chest that we need to build. If you would just kick in your $1 or $5. So,
or just every time you get a paycheck, just set aside $20, to put towards whatever comes down the pipe. Yeah,
and obviously, I think that that people who are in the industry and making money off the industry should put forth a lot more, depending on what their sales are. But Greg is not only fighting for he fights for everything to do with vapors' rights. It's not just industry. Like if he goes to a state and testifies against a tax, that's benefiting the consumers for sure. So this is not something that I think, in my opinion, should be limited to just the industry. So consumers, absolutely, put in your $1, your $5, whatever. It'll help.
And that big number, $108,000, that should really be inspiring for people. You know what I mean? Right. Instead of, oh, well, they have enough money. You know what I mean? Yeah. It should be inspiring. When Greg Connolly posts, oh, One Hit Wonder donated,
$25,000.
$25,000. There should be another vendor out there that goes, oh, well, we can top that. Let's do $30,000. And then someone sees that and goes, oh, well, it should be like a competition. It should be a money donating competition.
Absolutely. Right. And that goes to something that I've always said. Advocacy doesn't have to be hurtful to your bottom line. You can use it as an advertising tactic. The goal is still the same. The result is still the same. Organizations that need to be funded get funded. I do not have a problem with companies advertising the fact that they gave money to an advocacy group.
Yeah,
I don't
I mean,
either.
that's what I did when I donated money. I went to the top, who was the top individual contributor, and I was like, oh, it's Indoor Smokers. I'm going to donate more than him. And I want
Yes.
someone to see my donation and go, I'm going to donate more than him.
Mhm.
That's what I want to happen.
That's how this should work.
Yeah.
Yes.
Absolutely agree. Cool. Well, I
Yeah.
don't see any other. Let me see if there's any other comments. Yeah, I don't see any other comments. So I think we pretty much covered all the major topics. We're just under an hour. I know we started a few minutes late, but last week we ran like 42 minutes over. So we're going to give you guys a few minute break today.
I still have to watch last
Oh,
week's
Nick!
episode. of
Yeah,
Kazim.
Nick was in Dallas last week at the showcase event, so he wasn't able to join us live. But dude, you definitely have to check it out. It
I
was
will. I will
great,
right
and
after
share
this.
it. Please share it, Nick, because we went through a ton of stuff with Azim in the first hour, and it's great stuff for anyone who's a vaping industry business. So definitely check it out. I know it's really long, but a lot of great information.
Yeah,
So
I will
definitely check that
share
out
it.
and share it, because there may be someone who benefits from it that follows you on YouTube or Facebook or Instagram or Twitter. Or
Definitely.
I mean, could we come up with any more social media networks?
Friendster, MySpace.
Cool. All right. Any closing thoughts, Jay?
Well,
Yep.
I do want to bring up briefly, we do have a big fundraiser going on in Massachusetts. So if you're in Massachusetts or in any of the surrounding towns, please watch tonight's episode of The Game of Awesome. You can go ahead and go on Facebook, search for us. We'll have it posted. We are going to talk a little bit about what's going on October 1st, big Right to Be Smoke-Free fundraiser. Because, just like a lot of states, a lot of our focus is now going to be on the federal level now that things, as far as the legislative session here, have kind of waned down. We need to put our resources towards something, and Right to Be Smoke-Free, I think, for us is the best bang for our buck.
Yeah.
Very good. Nick, any closing thoughts?
No, not really. I mean, in addition to constant FDA regulation, my huge focus recently has been with not blowing smoke and Prop 56. Like I said, I'm going to try to go to as many dates as I can for the, for their awareness tour type of thing. But if you're in California, if you're a vapor, even if you're not a vapor, Prop 56 is going to be really, really bad, and we need to keep this awareness of it up. And so that's mostly what I'm going to be focusing on now. So yeah, if you're in California, let's do it.
Vote no on Prop 56, California.
No on 56.
So I've just been working on VCC10 in Chattanooga. It's coming up in 2 months. We definitely need a lot more sponsors and vendors on board. Nick, unfortunately, will not be able to make it to this VCC event. He'll be right in between traveling for other things, so that's kind of sad. But maybe he'll still tell people to go. I don't know.
Yeah, of
We'll
course
be
I
hopeful.
will.
And
Yeah,
we're
why
going to
not?
we always have great advocacy discussions and learning experiences. So, I mean, if you know anyone, any company, share the information with them. It's at vapingcc.com, October 22nd, 23rd, Chattanooga, Tennessee, at the Chattanooga Convention Center. Anyone can email me. We just reduced our rates across the board in an attempt, and you can go to the Vaping Convention Circuit Facebook page and check out the Go Live video I did. Companies are struggling everywhere, whether or not they put out a lot of money towards complying with regulations or what have you, but I don't think that should be a deterrent and stop you from what got you to where you are, which is marketing and getting your product out there. If you believe in it, if it's a strong product, if it's a good product, it will do well at the event. So people do great at VCC events. I'm talking about vaping industry people that come and exhibit. So not to plug too much, but we definitely need your support to get more shops and vendors on board that are good shops and vendors, that will meet our criteria, no marketing to kids and stuff like that. So we did lower our rates across the board. And then also I had an idea we always say support shops that support advocacy. So I thought, you know what, I'm gonna do that, and we're gonna probably lose money from that perspective, but it's okay because these shops are giving back to the state organizations where their business is located. So We did from now on. Our policy is 25% off of any level of sponsorship or vendor booth for any shop who has a current who can show us that they're currently a member of a state advocacy organization. So that's just something that.
What if they're a president of a state organization? Do they get 50% off?
25% off, Jay DeLuco. we have to pay for the event to happen. So I mean, we can't give it away for free. But so we lowered our booth rates. So just to give you an example, a regular 10x10 is now $900. So you take 25% off. I don't know what that comes out to, around $700 or something. If you're a state, if you're a shop located in a state that has an advocacy organization and you're a current member of it. So it's definitely affordable, and I think and nowhere else are you going to get a couple thousand people in front of you at one time or more, depending. We have a lot of public interest for this event, so yeah.
Sweet.
That's what I've been working on. That's what I'll keep working on. Matt will be back with us next week. Hopefully he's feeling better, so send him a hug or something. And remember, you don't have to do everything. You do have to do something. Get involved.